Hello crafty viewers, for today's card we are going to be putting together this beautiful sparkly snowflake Christmas card. So sit back and watch how I assembled it. Let's get started with today's card. So today's card is going to be a top folded card, and we're going to take this piece of Pacific Point paper and score it at 5.5. I have a piece of this snowflake paper, and if you watched our last video, you know that I had a hard time deciding which side to use. So for today's card, we're actually going to use this beautiful side here. And I really like having the majority of the darker blue showing. And so I'm going to position this piece up at the top. And this is a piece of the paper that is cut to 3 by 4.5 inches. And it is from the Snowflake Splendor Designer Series paper. That is part of the August to December mini catalog from Stampin Up, also known as the holiday catalog. And this is part of my Christmas in July card making series, getting a head start on the holiday season and making some cards to get you a little bit motivated for when the new catalog launches to customers on August 4th. Now I am going to offset this a little bit towards the top, and you will see why in a minute. It is centered though side to side. Now the next step is going to be taking a sheet of Whisper white cardstock, and this is cut to 4 by 5.5 inches. That's going to give me a nice little 1/8 of an inch border on each side. I am going to take this die cut that creates a label, and that is out of the Snowflake Wishes bundle. It is the So Many Snowflakes dies, and this die set has a whole bunch of different size snowflakes, some of which are really large, and there's actually 3 more on top of this that I have ready to go on another sheet of Designer Series paper. So I have this centered in the middle of my 4 by 5.5 inch card, and I have it a little bit up towards the top because I want to save room down here at the bottom for my Merry Christmas greeting. So I am going to run this through my die cut machine, and I will be right back. Okay, there we go. Now, when you take this die off, you need to be a little careful because there are going to be pieces that are going to stay behind, and you want to take the tape off before you try to pull it apart. You'll see why in just a moment. Now this centerpiece is scrap. I'm going to clean this up, get these little pieces out, and I will be right back. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is going to glue on the window sheet. This is going to be a shaker card, and I'm going to glue the window sheet on because that part does take a little bit longer to dry while we're assembling the rest of the card. I have this protective film, and I'm going to put that towards the outside of the card to help reduce the amount of static on the inside of the card that you experience when you put your shaker stuff in. So I'm just going to glue this down. I'm going to set that aside to dry. I have these dies. These are the additional snowflakes that were in the die set, and I am going to cut out using this piece of designer series paper and align these dies as close as I can onto some of the snowflakes so that I do get a little bit of a design from the print as well as a design from the snowflake. And I'm just gonna set this on the paper here, kind of align where each of the little legs go. Now, because this does require such precise placement, I am going to use some purple tape to hold down the dies. Okay, now that we have that down, I am going to take this and run it through my die cut machine. There we have our snowflakes, and it does look like they lined up pretty well. You can use pretty much any part of the paper, so just like snowflakes, you can line yours up wherever you want them, and no two will be the same. Now while this is drying, we're going to also stamp on our Merry Christmas sentiment. And this sentiment is from the Poinsettia Petals stamp set, and I really wanted to use it on some of my poinsettia cards. However, it was too wide for all the cards that I made, so I'm kind of excited to use it here now. To stamp this, I am going to use Pacific Point ink, and it's going to match the paper. Look at that. That looks awesome. And while we're at it, we may as well adhere our snowflakes onto the front of the card. Now that that's had a little bit of a chance to dry, I'm going to build up the back of the card. To do that, I'm going to adhere some foam adhesive strips, and that will provide the nice pocket for all of my sequins to lie in. Now I don't want the sequins to get buried too deep into the card, so I'm going to run these strips right as close to the outside edge as I can to keep them from falling down below. In addition to that, I'm going to run some down each side of the card to provide it a little bit of support on the sides, as well as a little strip on the top, so that when the recipient holds the card, the whole card is supported by foam strips. Now for the fun part. Here is what our card is going to look like. And so I'm going to add some of these snowflake sequins. And I believe these were in the catalog last year, and they are a returning favorite item. I'm very excited that Stampin' Up! Returned a whole bunch of stuff from last year's catalog, because there were a lot of really nice products in the catalog for the holidays last year. So we're going to add some of these, but to make this card extra special, I turned to the sequins that were in the Whale of a Time suite, and I sorted through the sequins and picked out all the pink ones, because those look like little seashells, and I didn't think that that was quite appropriate for this card. However, there were some beautiful blue sequins, and the colors just matched this paper really nicely. So I'm going to throw some of these in here too. Now that we have our sequins arranged, we can take the tape strips off and adhere the front onto the card. I hope that you've been enjoying this Christmas in July series. I know I certainly have had a lot of fun making holiday cards when it is just blisteringly hot out. So a little bit of a sneak peek of the season to come. And if you haven't been inspired to make some of these cards for yourself, I sure would appreciate it if you would shop at my online store. The link to my store can be found in the program notes down below. I would also appreciate it, being a new YouTube channel, if you enjoy this video, if you could please give it a thumbs up. That would really help me out. And let me know that this is the content that you enjoy watching. So we need to do one more thing, and that is to add a sentiment on the inside of the card. Okay, so for the inside of our card, I'm going to use some Pool Party ink as well as the Pacific Point, and I am going to stamp the sentiment out of the Snowflake Wishes stamp set that says Snowflake Wishes for a Merry Christmas, and I'll put that on the inside of the card. And then I'm going to stamp some of these little tiny snowflakes as well as a larger one. So let's do the small ones first. The larger snowflake I am going to do out of the Pacific Point. And the greeting we're also going to do in the Pacific Point ink. And the last thing that we need to do is to adhere this down to the inside of the card. And there we have our beautiful shaker card. So I did notice that the card needs a little something else on the outside, just to liven it up a little bit. I have these beautiful blue adhesive back gems, and I'm going to add a gem to the center of each of the snowflakes. And I think that will just set them off a little bit and add a little bit of sparkle to the outside. I'm going to use the lighter colored gems for this. These have a beautiful iridescence to them. And there we have our beautiful snowflake shaker card. I sure hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you could give it a thumbs up, that would be fantastic. And if you want to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button. I will be posting more videos in this holiday catalog series, and you can check those out in the playlist down below. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.